All right. Well, welcome, Ella Speidel. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insights on what you do in fast fashion and beyond.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's say, somebody is really curious. They love buying clothes, or they've maybe watched a video, like a documentary about the impact of fast fashion, just somebody who just puts attention on that. You know, um, Tell me, just so they know you're the person to talk to, like, what's your experience with fast fashion? I mean, it's almost impossible not to have experience with fast fashion, honestly, but how did you get engaged with it or maybe enlightened about it?
hmm Yeah, so I got engaged with it around the time of the pandemic, actually, when I had a lot more time on my hands and I was about to graduate high school, going into college, thinking about like global things that were happening. And fast fashion seemed to be kind of like a tangible thing I could almost like, yeah, get engaged with and get more educated about because I was coming out of like going into college, experimenting with my own fashion and wanting to know more about what like where my buying habits are contributing or maybe could contribute better to some of these environmental impacts that were going on. Because that felt, again, like something tangible I could kind of either benefit or like if am buying fast fashion, what does that really mean? So I got more involved with it and kind of just started to follow like people on social media who were talking about it because it wasn't something I was super aware of in the past. And now that I kind of had, again, more time on my hands, I was like, what does this really mean? What is fast fashion? What is it contributing? How is it affecting the planet and other people, the world in general? So I kind of social media was a big way for me to start getting involved with it, especially because we were at home and online more. So that was kind of my introduction to it. And then being in college, I kind of did like a more deeper dive into it and did lots of projects on it, looking at like journal articles about the ethical side of the fashion industry and the environmental impacts. So that was my kind of introduction to it and how I got engaged with it. And I kind of just have stayed talking about it, thinking about it, and trying to like get my friends and other people that I know to think consciously about it and where their clothes are coming from, or if they can buy it secondhand instead of shopping fast fashion, or maybe choosing a more ethical brand, things like that.
Okay. So what is something that you have learned since you're saying you've been reading articles and staying on top of it? What have you learned recently that was really something you'd want people to know now that you have a bit of a platform here? It's like you
Mhm.
were researching the impacts of it or how to curtail it. What stands out to you as a fun fact or not so fun fact?
Yeah, so I think the fun fact, especially because of my brain and works in like the kind of numbers of like emissions and things, because that's like a hot topic of what we talk about in like environmental spaces. So the fact that the fashion industry itself contributes 10% to global carbon emissions was pretty astounding to me just because of the disconnect, the seeming disconnect from fashion and like global environmental impacts. It might not be something that like the average person thinks about is contributing so much. And then also because of the water element of it, the fact that it takes 3,000 liters of water to produce like one cotton t-shirt is kind of hard to imagine. It's hard to like think about that and fathom, oh my gosh, the amount of water that we're consuming just to produce one t-shirt. And how many t-shirts do I have in my dresser right now? Or how many t-shirts have I gotten for free and then just thrown out? Or just the cycle of things. It really makes you think about it. And also on that side of it, like the toxic dyes and those types of things that they use in fast fashion, just because they're cheaply producing, mass producing things on a very rapid scale, those can go into rivers to pollute them. And then ultimately, kind of bringing it full circle, 85% of all textiles go to landfills every single year. That is a statistic that has blown my mind ever since or just generally has shocked me since I've gotten into this space and thinking about the ways we can either prevent that or how our consumption and the whole life cycle of one single piece of clothing, just thinking about that. Um, in order to prevent that, because landfills also contribute a lot to emissions and things like that and how much waste it is. So that's just kind of some things that make you really think about just like the life cycle of one piece of clothing and how it can be changed in a way, I guess.
What are, let's say I am doing a clear out, like I'm doing a closet edit. And
Mhm.
I am doing this right now, actually, because I'm sort of overwhelmed by my closet, even though I have a lot of used items, that it's just gotten too much. And I love watching people who do capsule wardrobes and they're like, take a chance and pick your favorites and just let that be enough, right? So I've done that to an extent. So now I have a bunch of gorgeous clothes, a bunch of, there are also things that sort of wear out and it's time for them to just either go to a landfill, which obviously is not what to do, but to go somewhere. So there's some that are like, I could bring them to a consignment shop. I could bring them, then there are some that are a little less, I would just sort of give them away for nothing. And so there's that pile. And then I'm guessing there's a pile that could either turn into, what do you call it, rags, or
Mhm.
it has to go someplace. And I would love to know, like, is that how you deal with it? Like when you're doing a closet edit, what have you learned about how to manage what you're getting rid of?
Yeah, it can definitely be overwhelming. And I sympathize with you because I've been doing the same thing, especially with the turn of the season. It's like, okay, what do I have? What do I still wear so much? Or what is not being used? And that's kind of like where I start is like where, for me, it's like a start of like, what am I using versus what am I not? What are my favorite pieces? What do I not wear so much? And what is the reason why I don't wear it so much? And is it because it's deteriorating? Does it have like holes in it? Or is it just like not for my body or things like that? So then thinking about where it's going to go eventually, I usually start with for me, it's like, can I give it to a friend? Would someone else that I know in my life use this in a way that I just don't wear it? Or there's something kind of like not wrong with it, but I'm just not using it or wearing it. So I usually start with like, do I know someone in my immediate circle that I know would love it? I've given like my best friend a couple of my clothes because I'm like, this isn't really me anymore, or I don't really wear this. Like, I know, like you've mentioned you like it or you've worn it before. Like, do you want it? Would you wear it? I give it to her. So just like kind of assessing people in your immediate circle that might take a piece that you're not really thrilled about or getting rid of. And then you kind of have like, okay, then I could donate these to either like a thrift store, a secondhand store, or something like that, a consignment shop. Or I really like we have them at least on Salem State campus, and I know that municipalities have them as well. I think we have a few in Beverly. I actually definitely know it. We have one at the high school that collects like textiles, shoes, things like that. So I used to really like doing that when it would be like pieces of clothing that I had maybe like cut up or something, or I had altered it in some way. And if I can't give it to my mom, who's a seamstress, who can kind of like do things with random pieces of clothing, I'll usually send it there and they can recycle them in the proper ways. Or if that's kind of not an option, you can also like resell it or try and do that thing on either online or in a consignment shop. So yeah, the recycling, reusing, kind of like reworking pieces in a way are usually like the go-tos that I usually think about when I'm doing like a closet clear out type thing. So those are like the main ones I would say.
Okay. And if it can be kind of overwhelming when you're just starting this journey. If someone finds out, oh my God, I'm contributing that much to carbon emissions, like where do I even begin? What would you say are some ways to, I don't know, turn the ship a little? Like, what do you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I would first say that the biggest thing is it is not on us as individuals. It is more on the large corporations and like other entities, like larger entities that are the ones that are truly contributing to the high emissions and things like that. So it can be really hard to not take on the weight of the world when you're getting into environmental spaces and you're like, oh my gosh, my clothing purchases are destroying the planet, which is not like true. You are not one person can't do all that. So that can be a hard thing to take on. And just reminding yourself that it's kind of collective action that we're after, of just like everyone making small changes and thoughtful decisions or thoughtful choices about their purchases and their use of an item, anything that you're kind of using or consuming and taking care of as a person, rather than just like your clothing. But yeah, so just reminding yourself of that, and then also just like educating yourself, and then thinking, kind of just like thinking about like, okay, how could I use this in a different way? How could I, because it really to me is also a great way to just get creative with things, especially with fashion. I think is a great opportunity just to explore or find other ways to express yourself or express a side of, I don't know, anything, any extension of yourself. So getting creative with things, or kind of just looking into like more diverse ways to deal with things when it comes to like the end of life, if you're talking about like a garment end of life, or how you're wearing something, maybe ways you could get it altered so that it fits you better, or yeah, just trying to like find different ways, because there's like a million ways you can either tailor something or edit a piece of clothing before you have to maybe send it to um, someone else or an organization that can recycle it. Or if it ends up in a landfill, then it ends up in a landfill. But like, yeah, just there's so many different ways you can deal with something before it maybe has to end up there. And just having those processes and doing that is so much more than like a lot of people are doing. So that's huge, I would say.
Okay. And so once, let's say I get educated a little bit, I want to eventually change some of my shopping habits. And the two obvious ones are one, buy used, and two, buy high quality and less. So any thoughts? Let's start with used clothing. When you started out, what was your process to change to buying more used? How did that go for you?
Yeah, so I think my first thing was, where can I buy used? Where can I get these clothing that are pre-loved, like already used, yeah. So I just kind of like looked up where like thrift stores near me. We have Beverly Bootstraps in Beverly, which is great resource. They have the like thrift section and then the boutique section. So that's a great resource. There's a few consignment shops just right downtown in Beverly. The Golden Hanger I like to go to, and Worthy Girl for some trendier options. Um, and yeah, then there's like Savers, the bigger ones. So yeah, just looking up where I can get secondhand clothes, and then also online, especially like in 2020 when I was kind of getting into this space. Like ThreadUp was great. I remember doing lots of closet revamps with my sister and getting the bags that you can send to them, which is a great thing you can do. They just send you the bag and you fill it up with your clothes and send it back to them. But also you can get clothes online. Things like Depop and Poshmark are also great, or like Facebook Marketplace. I've been in like a Facebook group with girls I went to high school with, and that has been great to just like share clothes kind of intermingly. Even if I'm not friends with them, I'm just like, yeah, you can have this, or like I like that, which is great. And I think it builds a sense of like community, which is also another positive. But yeah, where can I buy these things? That was my initial kind of question, and how I got started with it. And then it kind of just, okay, like I'm gonna go to these spaces as I can, and yeah, just get engaged with it in that way.
Yeah, and I bet there were some pleasant surprises, meaning not new clothes can be just as cool and
Hmm.
functional as going to the Patagonia store or, Lululemon or, all these like sexy stores that we all want to go to feel new again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be, there's the struggles and the triumphs of each thing with it, but like just being able to find really unique pieces, even if I can't find something in my size that I really love, it's like, oh, okay, missed out on that piece. But then I find another one that fits perfectly and is so unique, and the feeling of that is just, it feels so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, I found like a diamond in the rough, which I think is another thrill of like just thrifting and shopping secondhand too.
True. It's almost like gambling for me sometimes
Honestly.
because there's no guarantee. And when you find
Right.
something incredible, you're like, I just hit it. I just hit the
Yeah, you're like,
jackpot.
I just won the jackpot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you wearing anything used today?
I am. I'm wearing this. It's just a Henley t-shirt, but it's secondhand. It's airy, very old, or not very old, but I've had it for a long time. And just some jeans that I also got off of, I think it was Poshmark, I want to say. So yeah, secondhand
Nice.
outfit.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This
Love to
black
see it.
is used, I'm pretty sure from ThredUp, and it's something that was originally from Anthropology. So what's
Mhm.
up?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we're not even talking about the fact that you can get stuff at a quarter of the price, original price, or less.
hmm
So when you're picking out the brands, like especially on websites, because when you go to a store, who cares what the brands are? Obviously, you're looking, but you're not looking for those brands in particular. Whereas it's much easier to do so on a place like Poshmark, ThredUp, and Depop, I would imagine, although I don't use that, right? You just have to like know that good brands are going to stand up through the test of time. And so if you're looking for used Patagonia, used Anthropology, not all of it, but a lot of it. Used what else? Ralph Lauren. What are some of your favorite brands that you would go looking for?
Yeah, especially for like jeans, I like Levi's, or LL Bean has really high quality jeans. I love how
Wow.
thick and structured their jeans are. Yeah, it's kind of random, but
No, no,
yeah,
wow.
LL Bean. And then for like tops and things, um, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place with them. So like it's not usually like the same brands or so. But a lot of just like trying to find like older cotton t-shirts. I think maybe like Gildan, that might be the brand name.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just like vintage t-shirts that are like thicker and high quality cotton. Um, or I mean Abercrombie is technically a fast fashion brand, but finding them secondhand is great because they do have a higher quality. So I know that they'll last longer. That's kind of how I look at it is like, okay, if it's something I really like and looks really good on me or something like that, that's kind of
Cool.
my thought process with it, especially if I'm finding it secondhand. I'm like, okay, this is better than going to the store and buying it new. Um, but yeah, I'm usually looking for like jeans and things. So those are my big ones.
Okay. So would you say, and just to kind of start winding this down, um, I think one of the biggest challenges that I have found is I do want to buy fewer items, but I want them to be higher quality and I'm okay to pay more. But the thing is, when you pay more, it sadly does not guarantee that the items are sturdier and will last that much longer. If I'm buying a dress for $300, does that mean that dress is going to last me 3 times as long as the one that would have been $100? I'm going to guess a lot of times no. However, like where are you in your journey of finding higher quality, longer lasting items that might cost more upfront, but it's an investment?
I think I'm still kind of butting into that and getting into that world as I'm coming out of college and being able to maybe afford higher quality pieces. But a big thing for me has been like, okay, if I'm putting the money into a piece that is maybe more expensive, and I have a couple sweaters that were more expensive and are higher quality that I absolutely love. So really taking the time to know how to wash them and take care of them. That is like where I'm at kind of with that because
That's a
I
whole topic we could talk about for a
I
long.
know I've previously been the type of person that just throws everything in the washing machine because I'm like, okay, it just needs to get done. And I either shrink things or like something goes wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And I'm like so mad at myself for it because it's a piece that I loved. And maybe now it doesn't fit or I kind of have to like rework it or how I wear it. So taking the time to know and learn how to properly take care of my clothes, I think is a huge part of it because the garment itself can like stand maybe the test of time. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, you don't know, but usually it's the like maintenance and the taking care of it that makes a difference. I mean, it depends piece to piece, but I would say that's where I'm at personally, is just knowing how to really take care of items. And um yeah, even just like at work, I work at a coffee shop, so just being conscious of like I don't want to rip this, or I don't want to like stain it really bad. And yeah, again, I feel like a lot of it is just the conscious piece of it, of like thinking about taking care of things and how you want to act with them and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I'm kind of, we're at that point.
If somebody had questions about their journey, I'm guessing, I mean, that's why you're a coach. It's okay for them to reach out to you and get some input on even more resources and places to find information. Might that be a good reason to reach out?
Yes, please. Absolutely reach out if you have any questions about fast fashion or more resources you can find. I love to just like find more like podcasts, books, movies, things like that. So and like I think we've talked about this, like YouTubers that are great resources and people online, and because that is truly a great space for like getting educated or just engaging with the topic. And so yeah, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And any simple to complicated questions, I'm so interested to hear what people have to ask and what they want to know and things like that. So absolutely reach out.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ella, for taking the time today. And I learned something and I'm inspired to continue my own anti-fast fashion journey. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.